That is that they kind of spread the message that we're trying to promote. We're trying to make everyone leave here with an awareness of why the rainforest will be important to them. You know, some people will say, why should I care what happens in some other country? And we're trying to encourage people to think about where fresh water comes from, why pollination will be important, why specific medicinal characteristics of certain plants and butterflies may use would be important to know about, things like that. But in short, rainforest preservation is our main message.
Does anything that go on in the exhibit or with the releases, is it ever affected by the climate?
It is, because butterflies only fly when it's above about 60 degrees Fahrenheit. And, you know, 58 degrees on a clear sunny day, 65 degrees on an overcast day. So their internal temperature has to warm up to about 100 degrees before they can physically fly. So on days when it's below that temperature, we often will just take the butterflies and put them on the tree that we have in the center location of the exhibit so that people can still photograph them. And when it warms up again, they'll fly. You know, fortunately, we don't have many days that we don't have flight.
So, what does it take to put on these releases every week?
Well, mainly it's a matter of just holding the butterflies that have emerged in that particular morning in the 3 different boxes and kind of dividing them up so that when we present a release, if someone came to the first release, they might see different butterflies from what they would see in the 3rd release, but that they would continue to get a pretty consistent message of preservation and why we're here and what we do.
Has anything about the way the releases work changed over the years?
It has. We started using a little clip-on microphone because of the high numbers in attendance during the releases. And I think our staff has become more comfortable with handling butterflies and telling people little interesting facts about them, why the colors are where they are, and what the colors may mean to predators and butterflies and things like that. So, you know, situations like this where people could go see tropical butterflies have only existed for maybe the last 15 or 20 years. So the whole rainforest preservation movement is kind of a byproduct of this type of exhibit. So the, you know, ecotourism and eco-friendly exhibits are more popular now than they were 20, 30 years ago. So it kind of coincides with an awareness of the public too.
So what would you say are your hopes? I mean, you've been here and watched it develop. Are there any other hopes that you have for the...
You know, we hope that this place will be known as the premier place to come see tropical butterflies in the United States. It's already the biggest center for the study of butterflies in the world. Our outdoor exhibit, due to limited space, you know, here on UF we describe the parking pass as a hunting permit for a parking spot. So we're always limited to space somewhat, but we want to make our exhibit the most incredible one anyone's ever seen in terms of numbers of butterflies flying and the plant material that we display.
So are there any plans for expansion?
There are some plans for expansion. We would love to add a space outside that featured local butterflies where the visitors could actually feed and or handle the butterflies, because in our exhibit, because they're imported butterflies, the general public cannot handle them. And most people can be trained to interact on a touch basis with butterflies without harming them. It's pretty simple once you know the reality of it. We're limited by the USDA's regulations as far as what we can allow to happen in our exhibit, because of them being tropical butterflies and not local, so therefore representing a potential invasive species if they were to escape. With our local exhibit that we're talking about, we would want to be more interactive with the people.
So have these plans been set in motion?
Well, no, they haven't. They're in the talking stage, but as with everything, funding is an issue. You know, we have X amount of dollars that we can allocate for different things, and that's something we would like to do that we're talking about, but it's not. There's no paper drawn yet.
How many butterflies are here? I mean, we're talking...
Well, we have on average 1,500 to 2,000 live butterflies flying in the exhibit of about 75 different species, and they represent farms in Central and South America, Southeast Asia, Malaysia, Africa, and the Philippines. So that money goes directly to those people in those developing countries, giving them an economic reason not to cut the rainforest down, which we think is a good thing. Mm-hmm. In the collection area where we're standing right now, the total numbers vary because they haven't finished counting them, anywhere from 6.5 million to 12.5 million butterflies, potentially the largest collection in the world by several million.
Okay. And you said you have to come and there's some that are released every day?
Right. Well, the physiologically speaking, we get 1,000 chrysalids. You may know the word cocoon better, but technically speaking, a moth makes a cocoon, a butterfly makes a chrysalis. We get 1,000 or so of those shipped to us every week, and we display those in the rearing lab there. So much like babies being born, you can't predict when they're going to come out. So every day we have about 150 new butterflies that are going to emerge from their chrysalids. So if those are left overnight in the cage without food, that we lose some of them. So we'll come in on days off to make sure that they get out in the exhibit where the flowers are ready for them to be fed on.
So how many are actually released in each?
It varies. 30 to 50 is average. It's about 150 a day. So we know that if the exhibit has 2,000 butterflies, we add 1,000 a week, and they live 2 weeks, that's going to maintain a cycle of around 2,000 butterflies.
What's your favorite butterfly?
My favorite is a local called the tiger swallowtail. Really beautiful yellow and black butterfly, gorgeous big tails, pretty blue at the bottom.
What made you get interested in this sort of work?
You know, this is not what I thought I was going to be doing when I was a kid. I've been a chocolate farming, surfing, guitar player all my life. But if you do organic farming correctly, which I started doing after 9/11 happened, I had a guitar store up to that point. I closed that because I thought people need food more than they need expensive guitars. So if you do organic farming correctly, you produce butterflies as a byproduct of that because you're not using pesticides. So when I learned that a dozen monarch sells to a bride at her wedding for the same as a dozen roses, I thought it's a lot easier than growing roses. So that's what led me to doing this.
And why do you think you get a full house for these butterflies? Things what makes you think people want to see them?
People are fascinated by butterflies. Every primitive culture, every modern culture has a spot for butterflies in their kind of their pantheon of myths. To terminal kids that we get from Shands all the time, they represent rebirth. So most cultures have a place in their religion or whatever their cultural value is for butterflies. They represent different things. Fertility is one.
What ages do you see out here?
Anywhere from 6 days to 106 years. We've seen everybody.
And what months are they normally not flying? When are the weather's too cold?
Well, typically Gainesville gets, the coldest temperature ever recorded here was 6 degrees Fahrenheit, but it never stays freezing for 24 hours here. So typically we get the cold weather between the end of December and the end of January, but it's really not a problem for the butterflies except for they have to wait for it to warm up again. But the cold here typically doesn't last very long. So those months are often when we get visitors from further north that think that's a nice spring day when it's 40 degrees, which seems cold to us. So that's actually one of our busiest times. Our slow times are in the summer when everybody else is going to Disney World.
So that just means they won't be flying around in a couple of weeks.
Right, and they will fly for a few hours during the day, but it's a more limited window. So once the temperature, even if it's 30 in the morning, it's going to get up to 60 or so in the afternoon. So it'll stay 60 for 2 or 3 hours. You will see flight.
What kind of people do you see coming to the exhibit? You mentioned that you get people from up north.
It's a lot of different people. We get visitors, retired folks from the Midwest, from the Northeast. We get a lot of Asian visitors. We get people from all over the world because a lot of people have money to travel, and butterfly exhibits are something that's popular to visit these days.
You can do it now.
Thanks. Sorry about that.